Good evening and welcome to the Monday, January 13th Common Council meeting. I am now calling it to order. Clerk Toronto, I believe you would like to make some comments regarding the length of this meeting and other expectations.
Good evening, members of the public. For audio quality, we will be muting everyone not speaking by default to maintain good audio quality for council and yourselves. If you would like to speak during the meeting on a certain agenda item or during privilege of the floor, please submit your requests in the chat. Directions to do so will be listed in the chat. We ask that you provide your full name, address, and topic you are speaking on, as those are required for speakers at in-person council meetings. If you would like to be called on during the meeting to provide public input, please insert the following into the chat and you will be called on during the relevant time for public speaking. My name is full name and I live at address, and I would like to speak on or against agenda item. You will then be given 5 minutes to speak. Please be sure to unmute yourself prior to giving your remarks. Thank you.
Also, disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated. Such speech or actions, as well as verbal attacks on any person, may result in the individual without notice forfeiting the remainder of his or her allotted time. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Oliver Davis if he'll give us the invocation. Let's all stand.
Good evening. As we start the year, I'd always love this prayer from St. Francis of Assisi, and I will adopt it to our Common Council. Lord, make the South Bend Common Council an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us show love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is giving that we receive. It is imparting that we are pardoning. And it is dying that we are born to eternal life. May we as a council bring peace to the city of South Bend. In Jesus' name, amen.
Let's remain standing and as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Clerk Toronto, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Present.
Councilmember McBride,
Present.
Councilmember Warner,
Present.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Present.
Councilmember Niskoski,
Present.
Councilmember White,
Present.
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Present.
Vice President Thomas Morgan,
Present.
Council President Lee,
Present.
all 9 present.
All right. We will have a report from the subcommittee on minutes. Clerk Toronto, would you please read the statement?
To the Common Council, the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the December 9th, 2024 meeting of the council and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved.
Councilor Warner?
Thank you. Regarding December 9th, 2024 minutes, I would make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And then regarding the January 6th organizational meeting, I would make a motion to table those minutes. We've got a couple little errors in it that just need to be worked out.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
We have no special business and we have no reports for, from the city. I will now entertain a motion to resolve into the committee of the whole. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes.
Committee of the Whole is now in session. This is the portion of the council's meeting where bills are given a second reading and public hearing before a committee made up of all 9 council members. All bills that will be given a second reading and public hearing have been given a first reading and set for committee meeting and a public hearing prior to this evening's meeting. In addition, you will hear from the chairperson of the standing committee where the bill was discussed and results of that discussion. The proposed ordinance is a zoning ordinance. A report from a staff member will be given. In all other situations, the formal presentation on the proposed ordinance will immediately follow the committee report. The formal presentation shall be untimed. As provided by Section 211 of Chapter 2, Article 1, immediately following the formal presentation on the bill, the council members will then have an opportunity to ask preliminary questions of the staff and the presenter. Then members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the council. Following the public portion, the discussion shall then return to the council members for debate, questions, comments, and finally, any motions on the bill under consideration. I kindly remind all council members to respectfully address himself or herself to the chair to be recognized prior to speaking. When more than 2 council members seek to speak at once, the chair will name the member who shall speak first. Council members shall only be granted the right to speak a second time on the same question or issue after each member has an opportunity to first speak on the issue or question. Clerk Torado, will you please give Bill 6324 a second reading?
Public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, annexing and bringing within city limits of South Bend, Indiana, certain land located in Central Township, contingent therewith Councilmanic District Number 5 for land south of Lafayette Falls Phase 1 annexation area and west of South US 31 Highway, South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you. Bill 6324 this evening is only for public hearing, so there's no committee report on that bill. We'll have public hearing and then take action on the bill in 2 weeks. Got a substitute? Okay, so I would take a motion at this time to accept the substitute for 6324.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the substitute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The substitute has been accepted. Welcome.
Skip Morrell, Principal Development Planner with offices on the 14th floor of this building. As mentioned, this is an annexation that's been requested on the south side of the city by Lafayette Falls LLC for the northern portion of 2 parcels. So you can see just south of Lafayette Falls Phase 1 and west of US 31 Highway. The proposed annexation area is approximately 44 acres and meets the state law contiguity requirement. The annexation area is currently vacant. A development of approximately 100 to 110 housing units, primarily in the form of single unit dwellings, is proposed for the land. Continue. Okay. No capital improvements are planned by the city now as part of this annexation. Water is available from the north, from Stewart Drive and Greasy Lane. The Lafayette Falls Extension annexation area will be added to the Common Council's 5th District and served by Police Beat 16, Fire Station 10, Emergency Medic 10, and Neighborhood Services and Enforcement Area 2. This is a like for like, so it's currently zoned R single family in the county, and it will come into the city as S1 Suburban Neighborhood 1. And the petitioner is also present.
Anything the petitioner would like to add? Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Werner. My name is Richard Nussbaum. I'm an attorney practicing here in town at 210 South Michigan, Suite 500, South Bend 46601. I am particularly honored to be able to be the first speaker at a public hearing in year 2025. I think it's going to be a great year for our city. We've got a lot of things that are happening that are very positive, many of which are going to be talked about tonight, and I think at every meeting this year. I represent Lafayette Falls LLC, which is the petitioner for this voluntary annexation and the developer of this residential project. As was mentioned by the community investment representative, this involves about 45 acres, and it's planned to be between 100 and 110 lots. It'll be single-family residential development. I want to thank the Department of Community Investment for their work with us on this. They've been very cooperative. We've had a lot of back and forth on it so that we could bring to you something that is worthy of the city. Recently, the South Bend was recognized as the 19th best place to live in the Midwest by the U.S. News and World Report. It's the only city in Indiana that was recognized. Take a lot of pride in that. You might say, well, number 19 doesn't sound so good. I mean, after all, only 12 colleges got to play in the college football playoff. But I will tell you that year in and year out, the University of Notre Dame, that sometimes they fall to 20 or 21 of all the colleges in America. Is an excellent result. This is a voluntary annexation, and the statute provides that we have a public hearing, and then we have to wait 2 weeks, and then we vote on it. So we'll be back to watch you vote in 2 weeks. But during this time, we would certainly appreciate your support. Voluntary annexations are highly unusual in South Bend. Generally, they're commercially oriented. We haven't had a lot of residential voluntary annexations, so this is something I think that's very positive. Certainly being in the 5th District in the southern part of our community is another unique aspect to this. 20, 30, 40 years ago, the southern part of our community there was a lot of residential development, but we haven't had a lot of it in a long time. So I think this is says a lot for our city that we're not only doing things downtown in the east and the west, but we're now going south as well. The petitioner, Lafayette Falls LLC, the principal is William Loudon, Bill Loudon. The Loudon family has been in business in this community for well over 30 years, not only as developers of residences, but also as a vendor and an excavator. Done a lot of work for the city and done a lot of work with Notre Dame. Lafayette Falls has 7 residential subdivisions now in existence. Only one's with the city. Another one is in the county, but with city utilities. And 5 of them are located in the county of Mishawaka. So this excellent developer coming to South Bend, again, says a lot for our community. The plan is for these 100 to 110 lots to be sold to a builder. Right now, the builder that is in discussions with purchasing these lots is Allen Edwin. Allen Edwin is a regional builder. It builds in southern part of Michigan and the northern part of Indiana. They have built homes here in South Bend. They are known for building affordable homes. And so I think they're the right kind of partner for Lafayette Falls to be able to engage in this project. In terms of the legal requirements, as was mentioned, there's a contiguity requirement under the law. If you look up and see the dark area, that's the city. And then the crosshatch portion is what we're asking to be annexed. As you can see, there's a lot of contiguity there. And that's good for a couple reasons. It meets the state statute, but also the city is already providing a large number of services to this area. There was a question at the committee meeting about mutual aid agreements, and the developer is in discussions and is supporting the city and Center Township to enter into such a mutual aid agreement for fire protection. And we're very optimistic that that is going to occur. There was also a question about the construction worker wages. Although we don't control that, the builder would, but many of the individuals who will be working on the homes that are being built there will be carpenters, electricians, masons, all of whom are union workers. And so we think we're going to provide a large number of opportunities for our workers here in the community. With a local developer and a local builder, we anticipate that most of those jobs are going to be for local individuals. So with that, I would ask for your support again. Would be happy to answer any questions and appreciate your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you, sir.
That completes my presentation.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll bring council members. Council members, do you have any preliminary questions of the staff or petitioner? Councilmember Lee?
Yes. How soon are we looking to get started with this?
Great question. There's a legal process that we have to go through and an appeal period. So we have to wait till the spring until that appeal period is over. But we hope that you'll see some work going on out there this fall.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson?
Thank you. I forgot about something. Fifth District, for those you don't know, we're very happy you're here. Have you, how has your contact with the residents? I did speak to one resident of Lafayette Falls. How are they feeling about this?
I have not myself spoken to the residents, but from my understanding, there's some excitement that there's going to be more work out there,
Okay,
more activity. And it's been a fairly successful project so far with the lots that are in the city. And one of the things that Community Investment wanted us to do is to show that we could do it in the cities before they brought in more land into the city. And I think the reason why we're here tonight is because we've been able to show that that's what's going to happen.
and that one person was positive. As soon as it warm up a little bit, I'll go back out there. Okay, thank you
Well,
for coming to
and
the
if you-
south side.
If you have any concerns or questions or any residents, please feel free to contact us and we'll be
I
happy to
will.
talk to you or to talk to those residents.
All good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Seeing none, I've got a couple questions on infrastructure. How difficult, how far is water and sewer for connections? And then as far as access to the property during construction, how will that take place?
I'm going to defer. I should have introduced Chris Gadusky, but I'll try to take a stab at that to begin with. There's water already out there, so they'll connect from the darker portions there. He'll give you a little more detail on that. As far as the construction, I'm going to defer to Evan Marsh at this point.
Chris Galuski, Abbenmarsh. The construction entrance will likely come from the south as he owns a small sliver of property that goes all the way down to Roosevelt, because that wouldn't be a good idea to go through the subdivision with trucks for 100 homes. So that was planned to come from the south.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll open it up to the public portion. At this time, we'll go to the public hearing of the meeting. Members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the council, beginning with members of the public speaking in favor, with each limited to 5 minutes. All members speaking in favor of anybody in person. We'll start with in person first. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Sue Castle, 422 Kennedy Drive. I'm in the 5th District. I noticed that there's a lot of density already. This isn't either for or against. It's more of a question. I'm wondering if there's going to be some green space for people to have recreational activities, because it looks really compacted there. So just planning for some breathing space for people to enjoy it would be nice. So that's kind of a suggestion or question if that's in the works. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in
I do not see
person or
anyone else.
online wish to speak in favor of the bill?
I do not see anyone else from the public or online that wishes to speak in favor.
At this time, we'll go to members of the public speaking against, limited again to 5 minutes. Good evening, welcome.
Dr. Robert Bennett, 1845 O'Brien Street, far northwest neighborhood. What is the expectation for affordable and free units at the development?
Any other questions?
What is
What I'm going to
the-
do is have you go ahead and ask your questions and
Then I-
comments,
I'll
and then we'll give the staff and petitioner some rebuttal to also address your questions and comments and everybody else's.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it
questions.
doesn't have to be aggressive, like they don't have to
No, no,
rebut
no.
me, but like answers are good. So what
Thank
is
you.
the requirement for affordable and free units at the annexed division? And then what is the plan for Section 8 privilege? What is the plan to ensure that families who have children and dependents who are in need of Section 8 social welfare are given privilege in the development?
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the bill, in person or online?
I do not see anyone else from the public or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Thank you. Does the staff or petitioner wish to address the comments and questions?
With regard to the first question as it relates to affordable housing, affordable housing has a lot of different definitions to it. This is going to be a private development, so there's no public funding for this development, so that there are no requirements for affordable housing, whether it's under criteria developed by the state or federal governments. The builder that is involved is a builder who is very versed in building affordable homes. So we anticipate that the price point for these homes will be more affordable than most of the price points for new construction in this community. The one thing that we're, I think, able to do by having this project come online is there will be people out here, given the fact that South Bend's doing so well, that they're going to be looking to go from their first homes to their second homes, and some people will be staying within the community and buying homes there, which will open up more affordable housing by them leaving their lower cost homes and moving up, so to speak. With regard to Section 8 housing, this will not be a Section 8 project. That generally is a landlord tenant type situation. These will be privately owned residences. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the public hearing on Bill 6324. Okay.
I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to. Yes, it was, and I sometimes I remember the second before the first, so I'm sorry. There is a lot of green space that is to the south of this lot. It's owned by the developer. There are no plans for developing that space, so there will be that green space there. Within the development, it's duly noted that there's a concern about green space, and we'll be working with the city to make sure that whatever requirements are for green space are met. But there will be green space adjacent to the development.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the public hearing on Bill 6324. We will take no action this evening. Clerk Torado, will you please give Bill 7424 a second reading?
Public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, establishing a merit board system governing the South Bend Fire Department.
Is there a committee report?
Yes, there is, Chair. This was held in Health and Public Safety this afternoon and comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a staff member or petitioner present? I ask that you state your name and address and share with us the key points of the bill. Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, Adam E. Taylor, Assistant City Attorney, and offices at, at the County City Building, South Bend. Yes, and I prepared a presentation that I shared with the committee. And if I could just have that brought up, that's a PowerPoint. And I'll just quickly go through some of those points. While that's being loaded, though, I'll just talk about the background of this. The council will be familiar with the merit system statute. There was a state law change that went into effect in July, but that law was passed back in May of 2023. And what that did is basically tie the hands of municipalities around the state. What it required is that a merit system be implemented, and I see that's being passed around. What that did is require merit systems to be established if there weren't already, or require that the local members and the council reject those proposals. If you could skip ahead to the next slide. And then if you could pass to the next. Obviously, in this jurisdiction, we've had the Board of Public Safety handling all personnel issues for the police and fire departments. The police have already adopted an ordinance that changes this. And so it doesn't go through the same statute that the fire merit system is proposed to go through. But the only options here were an affirmative rejection, both by the council and the fire members by ratification, or an affirmative acceptance. And if none of those things happened, as of January 1st, 2025, that merit system was deemed to have gone into effect. If you could go to the next slide, thank you. I want to be clear that this is a statute that was advocated by the PFFUI, the Professional Firefighters Union of Indiana. This is something that was advocated by the local, and therefore there was strong support. Go to the next slide, please. Despite this being, in essence, automatic in the statute, it does require an ordinance to be passed in order to implement it. So what has been presented is a substitute ordinance that does that. I'll describe a little bit of the key language here, but this statute 3683.5.5 specifically states that an ordinance needs to adopt it. Next slide, please. Just touching on this idea of what are other jurisdictions doing, you can see in Mishawaka as a good example, they basically are doing the same thing that we are. The police have declined to adopt a merit system, and that's because the FOP was against it. What we see is that the Mishawaka Fire Department was in support of following the state model system. And so as of December, the Mishawaka Council passed a merit system that follows the state model. Elkhart already adopted that back in 2016. There are differences, key differences between the police model and what we're doing with the state model. I'll draw your attention to a few that are up on the slide and in the packet in front of you. Namely, there are differences in the number of people that are going to be appointed as commissioners. There are two mayoral appointments. There are two that are appointed by vote of the members. Those have to be different parties, political parties. And then there's one common council appointment. There are different requirements for the commissioners themselves. You'll see some of those listed. City residency for the past 3 years. There's an age requirement that's different. And otherwise, they're essentially the same qualifications. Go to the next slide, please. There's a little bit of difference in who has the most control over, for instance, hiring and disciplinary issues. And this is really the difference why the police wanted their model versus why the fire department wanted this state model. The board has more control, the commission has more control in this statutory model. The Police Merit Commission, the department is going to have more authority over that. And frankly, that's, I think, the key reason why the Firefighters Union advocated for this. If you could go to the next slide. Again, discipline is going to be handled by the commission. There's not a lot of change there with regard to how discipline happens. It's still going to be subject to a hearing process. If there's a complaint, dispute, appeal of that disciplinary action, anything over 5 days is going to have to go before the commission. Next slide, please. So I'm going to point you to a few key things that are in that substitute ordinance. We essentially did not list every single item from the statute because it's unnecessarily duplicative. We make reference to the statute. There are a few additional things in there that are clarifications from what language is listed in the statute. Establishing clear authority for the Board of Public Safety to set the procedures for the member chosen or member elected commissioners. That is authority that we asked for in the ordinance. And then clarification about the Board of Public Safety's authority over personnel matters until the Merit Commission has its rules in place. In the meantime, same as with the police discussion, the Board of Public Safety will continue in some form. It may in fact in the future be rejoined. At one time they were Board of Public Safety and Works. It may be rejoined in the future, at least for the foreseeable future until the Merit Commission is up and running. It's going to remain on its own. And even when the Merit Commission is fully operating, it's still going to have authority over policies, contracts, administrative resolutions, approval of collective bargaining agreements in those matters. Next slide. I just wanted to draw attention to a few key things that are in the statute. The commission has to have its appointments in place by no later than March 1st. That includes the one council appointee. The Board of Public Safety will establish by the next available Board of Public Safety meeting the procedures and set a date for the election so that we can get that moving along. And the commissioners then are required to adopt rules within 90 days of appointment. And the department and the city staff are going to be actively involved in drafting those things to present them with a packet so that we can get this up and running as soon as possible. Now, I believe that Chief Todd Skorkin is available if there are any specific questions for him. And we also have the union president for the local here in attendance, Eric Griffin. And I want to open it up for if there are any questions for me.
Okay, thank you. Chief Skorkin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, this is Assistant Chief Todd Skorkin, offices at 1222 South Michigan Street, South Bend Fire Department. No, thank you, Adam, for putting that together, and council members for entertaining this. I think as far as the fire department administration is concerned, we look forward to codifying many of the practices that we have been doing for a number of years. And in this commission, it will allow representation from the community and other buy-in from the local and from the council. So I think we'll do good work together in the future. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Griffin, anything to add?
Yeah, Eric Griffin, President of Local Firefighters 362, offices at 4025 Lincoln Way West here in South Bend. Obviously, as Adam said, we did strongly support this. It does give us a seat at the table, so to say, in some of the practices that are used as far as hiring, promotions, firings, stuff like that. Currently, all the members of the Board of Public Safety, as you guys know, are appointed by the mayor along with our administration. So there are times that there's the potential for practices to not necessarily benefit our members. But this, again, gives us a seat at that table. We currently don't have any issues, but also we have no say in who the mayor is, who the fire chief is, who our administration is, since all those are appointed positions are elected. So we're just kind of looking forward to the future to make sure we don't run into any other issues. There have been other departments locally that have ran into some of those problems, Mishawaka being one of them, whereas obviously they went the same route as us. But we are by far the largest department in the state that is not currently under a merit board, and it is commonplace for fire departments to operate under a merit board. Whereas I know for the police departments, it's not as common, but for fire, it is pretty normal. But I don't see it changing a whole lot operationally. but we're just kind of putting a safeguard in for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, do you have any preliminary questions of the petitioner?
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Chair. As I shared earlier in Health and Public Safety meeting, I had a concern that this bill was passed by the state on May 4, 2023, which is almost 21 months ago. And since that time, I just did a quick Google search. Greenfield had their council to weigh in, even though people had support and not support. City of Fort Wayne, City of Mishawaka, as you noted. Franklin City Council weighed in. Fishers weighed in. Plainfield weighed in. Saw Warsaw City Councils, they were able to weigh into theirs when it mattered. Michigan City, their city council weighed in when it mattered. Portage, their city council weighed in when it mattered. Noblesville, their city council weighed in when it mattered. Columbus City, city council, they weighed in when it mattered. Elkhart already had weighed in, as you noted. And I appreciate those cities having been able to weigh in ahead of time. I mean, I vote tonight, whether we vote yay or nay, doesn't really matter because it's after the deadline of the state. And those cities took the time to weigh in, and their fire unions, which I do support, Mr. Griffin. I appreciate my 14 years, I've always voted for the fire. But Aretha Franklin, rest her soul, said these letters, RESPECT, respect. They respected their leadership and allowed them to weigh in when it mattered. My concern is that while it's going to pass tonight, I mean, even if it didn't pass tonight, it's going to happen. I would have appreciated this coming up since it was 21 months ago, prior to me even getting on the council, back on the council, that this would have been a discussion that the city administration would have with the city council and our public. We recognize our fire had support. We recognize that had great support. Others, I'm going through this, I think maybe Greenfield or one of these other cities, their city voted against it. But majority of the cities have shown support for this bill. And like it was already stated, we are the largest city that hasn't. But even then, they came to their council, they came to the public when it mattered, and they weighed in. So again, please, and you say, well, you didn't have an answer for that. I gave you that question earlier this afternoon. Hopefully you were able to digest it a little bit more over some food and come back to us. Can you at least, with almost 12 plus cities weighing in, you got Democratic cities, you got Republican cities, you got big Fort Wayne, you got small little cities. Can you please share with us why City of South Bend is last on the totem pole in one of the last in 2025 to ask the council to weigh in after the deadline, which was December 31. We did the police. We had a, excellent discussion on that, even though that was the tail end, but we didn't have the fire. Please explain why we were not given the respect, as Aretha Franklin would have said, to like these other cities in the state of Indiana were given. Please explain that, please.
Councilman, I appreciate the question and understand from earlier, as you mentioned, this was a question that came up. I can't speak directly to the city administration's priorities in this, but what I can speak to is some of the awareness on the fire department management side about what was happening. There was certainly not a lack of awareness of the possibility that we would need to implement a merit system. The fire department was aware, city administration was aware, and this was a matter of general knowledge among municipalities. The state legislature passed a statute that created a problem, honestly, is what happened here. We're not the only municipality that this created a problem for. And I think what you're seeing is a lot of other municipalities, Mishawaka included, were coming down to the statutory deadline before implementing something. They passed theirs just a little bit ahead of us, but this ordinance before you was submitted before January to address it. I can understand and appreciate the concerns, but the reality is that if we attempted to do something other than the state model in this situation, there weren't good alternatives because the union support was so strong for it. And ultimately, the union could have made a demand at any point for the state model to be implemented. So the big difference here between the police and fire is that police were in unison on, the FOP was in unison with police management that it should not be the state model. Again, a rejection is ultimately what would have been required, an affirmative rejection. If the council would have taken action to do that, it was the administration's view that that was not going to happen regardless on the fire department side. And in fact, that might have forced the issue in advance. And so the fire department management took time to weigh in on this, make determinations about what effects this would have operationally, as did the firefighters union. They were in the process of investigating this since the moment it became a state requirement. So this, again, the city was not in a hurry to implement it as soon as possible, knowing frankly that it was likely that this was going to be implemented no matter what. So I'm not here to advocate any of the benefits for this. The PFF-UI did that at the state level. Ultimately, it's unfortunate that the state tied everybody's hands in the way that it did here.
Well, it's not, I'm not
Thank
worried. I just have a follow-up, please.
I'm going to
The
go to
issue of-
another council member and then
Yeah.
we're going to, we'll have debate after the public hearing, but before
He
we,
was gonna follow up with that answer though. Can I just follow up?
I
And
got
this is
Dr.
quick.
Davis. I actually want to weigh in before a response, if I can, as the past president. And to Dr. Davis's point, I was at the table and I don't recall to your point of all the conversation about that. What I recall is when we were having meetings and my weekly meetings with the mayor, the police department reached out several months ago and the fire department did not. And I reached out to the fire department on a few occasions, and that's when conversation came to council. And it is to your point about your presentation, that it really didn't matter, if you will, whether the council was at the table or not, because it was going to pass. But to Dr. Davis's point, the council should have been at least
all
in
I'm saying.
conversation with the fire department
That's
and
it.
had conversation about it.
Couldn't have said it better. Couldn't have said it better. Appreciate that.
thank you. Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
I'll abort my question.
Any other council members with questions? Seeing none. Councilmember Davis, you have a second question?
Only thing I would like to just follow up with that is I understood when the police brought to us a very controversial issue and we had to debate that, but we like to have simple issues too. And so where we all unite that, and since it was something that the fire already had agreed with and other fire departments have already agreed with, we are the largest city that had not done it. I don't see where there would have been major opposition on that. And so I just think that when the president, for having to have our president to reach out and not just her testimony, she just said, that's my concern. I think this should pass. But I just think that when I looked at all these other cities that had input in it, and I've been reading it, I said, fine. And I just wish that this would have come prior to 2025 beginning and voting on that. And that's my reason why I had concern tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members? Seeing none, at this time, we'll go to the public hearing portion on the bill. Members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the council on Bill 7424, beginning with members of the public in favor, each limited to 5 minutes. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak in favor of the bill? In person, we'll start in person.
Do we need to,
Could respond.
do we need a recess?
Would you like it?
There could,
Mr. Griffin?
yeah, again, Eric Griffin, president of, would you like to hold off?
Point of order real second. Do we need a recess real quick? This is distracting. Do we wait for 5 minutes to get them out of here?
Sure, we'll take a recess for 5 minutes. Thank you. At this time, we will go to the public hearing portion on Bill 7424. Members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the council, beginning with the members of the public in favor, with each limited to 5 minutes. Any members of the public wishing to speak in favor of Bill 7424, we'll start with in person.
Yeah, Eric Griffin, President of South Bend Firefighters Local 362, office at 4025 Lincoln Way West. Again, it's more of a answering the questions that were brought forward. Those municipalities that you had listed before, so prior to this new law taking effect, there was already a merit board law in place. It was just an opt-in system to where if a department wanted to have a merit board instead of the Board of Public Works, or in our case, the Board of Public Safety, overseeing those things, then they could petition to do so. We were always under the impression from the locals' end that that wasn't something that the city administration was in favor of. And since the Board of Public Safety was working fairly effectively, we didn't really see the need to come forward to try to push the issue of starting a merit board, whereas those municipalities did prior to the case all the way back then. So now, moving up to now, the police brought the discussion up because they wanted to establish a merit board that did not coincide with the rules of the state. So they kind of had to rush it in to make that happen before the end of the year, or else they would have been forced to adopt it as it stands right now. So I can assure you it wasn't done out of any intent to keep anything from anybody. It just, the rules of it are what they are. And we've been in constant communication with the city administration. We've been to trainings multiple times throughout the year. We actually, our state union put one on. We took Adam with us so that we could all be on the same page. And I know we don't really have any disagreements as far as anything with our administration on, how we want things moving forward. So I guess from our end, we didn't see what having a discussion wouldn't have changed anything. So I guess it never came to mind that that would be something that would need to happen. So I can assure you it wasn't out of any disrespect that we didn't bring it forward. It was doing, like, this bill is just a formality because the state law says that we have to go this route. But again, we are in strong favor of this along with our state union as well. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak in favor in person? Any members of the public wishing to speak in favor online?
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in favor.
At this time, we'll now go on to members of the public wish to speak against, with each limited to 5 minutes.
So I speak in favor. So
Okay.
having a board of accountability.
Please state your name and
Oh,
address.
my bad again. Yeah. So I'm Dr. Robert Bennett. My address is 1845 O'Brien Street. I'm in the far northwest. I think having a board of accountability for firefighters is a good idea. And I think that expanding that to police is an even better idea. My question for city attorney is, why is there an age requirement, and what is the age requirement in statute? And then why does this commission have any authority over the collective bargaining rights of the firefighters? And how does that violate Taft-Hartley and the NLRA?
Thank you, sir. Any other members of the public wishing to speak against the bill in person or online?
I do not see anyone wishing to speak in opposition, in person or online.
Thank you.
This individual, I'm sorry, was speaking in favor.
Yes, I can. Anybody else in the public speaking on the bill in favor or against? Seeing none, Mr. Taylor, any last comments to address any of the concerns or questions that you've heard so far?
I'll just address the concern about the age requirement. That is state statutory. It's not subject to the city changing that, at least in this current iteration. 21 years old. I'm not sure why the legislature decided upon that number, but that's the number. And then ultimately it's a state law issue concerning approval of collective bargaining agreements. That vests with the Board of Public Safety, but also with the municipal legislative body, and that's state law.
I have a clarification, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Davis.
It was stated that some of the cities, with the cities that I had mentioned, could opt in and opt out. But I just wanted to note that the cities that I outlined did their changes after the 2023 issue. They came in after I did not, outside of talking about Elkhart, which was 2016, the other ones did theirs prior, or after that law of the state. And so that initiated their conversation, whether there's firefighters were in support or whether they were against. And I just, again, would like to reiterate that at least reaching out to our council president, our people on our health and public safety boards, whether it's controversial, whether it's not controversial, whether there's a concern or issue, while it matters, is important, because all dialogue to me ahead of time is important. It's almost like approving if somebody in my family could do something after it's already done, and so those kind of things always bring interesting taste in my mouth. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, the public hearing on the bill is now closed. I'll return back to the council for any further questions, comments, debate, or motions on the bill. Member Bolden Simpson.
Thank you. I do have a question. I just thought about this when we were, the reason why we had to meet with the police department, because we were going to make a modification to the merit board. But on this one, since we're going with the state, does it have the part where different parties have to be on it? Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah. That's correct.
Question is answered. Any other council members with questions, comments, or discussion?
Move for passage.
We have a motion for passage. Do I have a second? Well, actually, this would be to send the bill forward with a favorable recommendation to the full council. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Clerk Torado, can you please do a roll call?
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Niskoski,
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Nay.
Councilmember White. Aye. Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
Council President Lee.
Aye.
I have 8 ayes and 1 nay.
Thank you. Bill 7424 will go forward to the full council with a favorable recommendation. This time I'll entertain a motion to rise from the committee of the whole and report back to the full council. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Committee is adjourned. Thank you.
The full council is now in session. I want to reiterate to everyone so that we are very clear that when we make the pledge of disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated, we're serious about that. We welcome everybody to come into the council and to be able to express, but as you're coming in, you have to make sure that you're searched to make sure there's no weapons. And then also, as proceedings are going on, we need everyone to remain in the seat until it's time for you to speak. One of the things that we want to remain very clear about is decorum and respect. And we want to respect. So thank you for allowing them to check you to make sure everything is good, so that we're not so that is being met. All right, the full council is now back in session. This is the portion of our meeting where bills are giving a third reading and action is taken regarding bills that were heard during the committee of the whole. We only had one, and that was substitute bill 74-24. Clerk Torado, would you please give substitute bill 74-24 a third reading?
Third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, establishing a merit board system governing the South Bend Fire Department.
Counselor Warner, is there a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole regarding Substitute Bill 74-24?
Yes, Committee of the Whole just sent 7424 forward with a favorable recommendation.
I will now entertain a motion regarding Substitute Bill 74-24.
I move for passage.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Out of respect to Aretha Franklin, I vote no.
just for confirmation, you voted nay.
Nay, no, nay, nada.
Councilmember Niskoski,
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Council President Lee.
Aye.
8 ayes and 1 nay.
Bill 74-24 has passed. We will now go to resolutions. And this is the portion of the council meetings where the common council hears bill filed as proposed resolutions. The title of each proposed resolution is read by the city clerk. A report from the committee chairperson of the standing committee to which the bill was referred to for an advisory review and recommendation is then given. During the public portion on each proposed resolutions, members of the public are invited to address the council. We ask that you please give your name, address, comments on the bill, and if you have any questions, they will be addressed by the presenter during their rebuttal. Each member of the public is limited to 5 minutes, with those speaking in favor going first, followed by those in opposition, then a 5-minute rebuttal for the presenter of the bill. Clerk Toronto, would you please give resolution 25-01? Would you read it, please?
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 225 South Michigan, South Bend, Indiana, 46601, and 229 South Michigan, South Bend, Indiana, 46601, an economic revitalization area for purposes of an 8-year real property tax abatement for RSPG Global Consulting, LLC.
All right, presenter, we see that you're here, and I ask that you state your name and your address.
Joseph Molnar, Assistant Director, Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. Before you today is the 8-year real property tax abatement for Center City Place rehabilitation. The Center City Place building is located at 225 through 229 South Michigan Street. This is the building in its current state today. It's been vacant for approximately the last 10 years and has not seen a major renovation in the last half century. It is currently, like I said, entirely vacant. This is the building dating to its founding back in the 1920s when it was called the Grand Leader Building. As you can see, there were quite a few more windows, leaving almost full transparency on the front, much more street engagement to South Michigan Street, as well as beautiful stonework and brickwork on the front facade. The property is located in the heart of South Bend, just north of the Danny Maid Company building, which the owner of this building, the new owner of this building, RSPG Global Consulting, the team that's running that also is the team that redeveloped the Danny Maid building. As I said, they recently purchased the building and with the hope to rehabilitate it. The developer is the owner of the adjacent Danny Maid building. The 38,000 square feet building was constructed, like I said, in the 1920s. The hope is to renovate the building with a restaurant slash brewery anchoring the ground floor with a hotel on the top 2 floors. They're also aiming to restore that original stone facade. The developer can speak more, but there's good reason to believe that most of that stonework is actually intact behind that 1960s covering. So it'd be wonderful to see that taken off, to see the windows opened up. You can see on the left of the screen here an image about rendering about what the building could look like with that property, with that facade restored. The total investment, estimated total, is a little over $5.8 million into the building, with an estimated 11 new full-time employees. As for the tax abatement itself, The petition submitted by the developer qualified for an 8-year tax abatement. Currently, as of today, the estimated annual taxes are $8,436. Estimated annual taxes after this project would be completed would be a little under $117,000. So a dramatic increase in taxes due to the increased value of the building. During the 8-year abatement period, the estimated taxes would be around $933,000, with $611,000 of those being abated and $322,000 being paid. As you can see with that $322,000 being paid, even with the abatement, if this project moves forward as intended by the developer, there would be a significant tax increase right off the bat from what is being paid now on the building. The estimated taxes after 10 years to be paid would be $555,000 compared to just $84,000 without the project. And after 20 years, a little over $1.7 million compared to just $168,000 without the project. As you can see on the left, there's another rendering. Kind of as the developer can speak to it, this building is hooked into the Danny Maid building in a number of different ways. So this seems to be a very good match, having an ownership of both buildings working together. And I'm happy to have the developer speak more.
Hi, my name is Christina Miller, and I'm here on the behalf of the developer of 225, 227, and 229 South Michigan Street. This is a property that we have looked at and considered for the past 7+ years, and finally feel like South Bend as a city, us as a development group, and some of our other partners that are helping with programming are finally in the right place and at the right time to move this forward. I'm open for any questions that you might have.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how confident are you that that original facade may be behind that? Because that's fascinating. It's beautiful from the picture they showed earlier, but was the old windows left in place? Is that why you tend to believe that that is still recoverable?
So in the way that it currently is, if you were to look at a current picture, there's 3 like small windows that you can see. So from the inside, one of them, you can actually see the stonework, and another one, actually the modern window is now missing. And there's a gap between the stonework and the steel facade, which is what you can currently see from the outside. And so we were able to get a scoping camera in that we could send in multiple different directions to kind of assess the current state of that facade. And then also one of the really large bay windows that's 7 feet across and 8.5 feet high, we were able to, before we finished our due diligence period, we had permission to go ahead and demolish just kind of the drywall around that. And the stone arch for that window is still intact. We were able to send the scoping camera in through there as well. We've also had a local mason and tuck pointer look at it. They also feel that the vast majority of the facade is intact, at least on the second and third floor. The first floor was something different, and any historical value there has already been removed. We do know that there definitely are some stones missing, and we have talked to them about being able to match those or being able to fabricate something that would match the appearance on the outside. But historic, like National Historic Tax Credits or something we're interested in. So we're very motivated to preserve and bring back that historic facade.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Well, I would just like to say that I can remember as a kid, I mean, all we've seen is that facade on there, but I just remember that area being so vibrant and full of life and so special downtown, and to have someone who's willing to come in and try to bring it back, that's very, very special. So
Thank you.
council members, any other questions? All right, now we'll go to the public hearing portion at this time. Clerk Toronto, is there anyone from the public, either online or in the chambers, that would like to speak in favor of Resolution 501?
I do not see anyone from the public or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Is there anyone in the chambers or online wishing to speak in opposition?
Yeah. Could you take that?
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Robert Bennett, Dr. Robert Bennett. My address is 1845 O'Brien Street in the far northwest. The Resolution 2501 is obviously a tax giveaway to RSPG Global Consulting LLC. I pay my tax bill, my neighbors pay their tax bill. My hope is that every member of the Common Council pays their tax bill. When the tax bill arrives, my escrow pays for schools, it pays for firefighters, EMT, roads, bridges, parks and green spaces. My taxes fund this city with my neighbors and my community members. And my expectation as a resident of South Bend is that RSP Global Consulting LLC also pay their taxes, or I'd like the form where I can get my tax abatement and I can get my neighbors their tax abatement, and the people who live just south of me in poverty in the far northwest get their tax abatement so that they can feed their children and house their children and send their children to school.
Clerk Toronto, anyone else that wants to speak in opposition?
I do not see anyone in the chambers
At this
or
point-
online wishing to speak in opposition.
At this point, the public hearing is now closed. Council, at this time, if you'd like to make any statements, or I will entertain a motion regarding resolution.
Before, Mr. My God,
Bennett.
no,
Mulner.
yeah, Mola, thank you. I had a blanket. Could you come back to the, could you restate how much tax abatements, I mean, right now, that building is not giving us anything.
Yes, I'd be happy to talk about that a
And
little bit.
with this change, because it's been sitting there, I've been in town 33 years, it's been sitting there doing nothing. And so what this is going to do and can do, can you just share that again, please?
Sure. So currently the taxes being paid on the building are $8,436. After this project, taxes would increase to $116,712. Over the course of 10 years, even with this abatement, the owner would be paying $555,503 compared to if this project wouldn't be able to move forward, which after having conversations with the developer, we believe without this tax payment, this project would not be able to happen, pencil out. The taxes would be significantly less at $84,363.
So again, if nothing happens, you're saying 84,000 would be there. And if something does happen, it is what again?
555,503 over the course of a decade.
I understand. Just wanted to restate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that being said, I will now entertain a motion regarding resolution 25-01.
Move for adoption of
Second.
501.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember McBride.
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember White. Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Right. Resolution 25-1 has been adopted. I would like to entertain a motion for the next two bills to be read together.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Clerk Toronto, would you please read Resolution 25-02 and 25-3?
2502, a resolution modifying and confirming the adoption of declaratory resolution number 4939-22, designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 3820 West Calvert Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46613, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 9-year real property tax abatement for Greenleaf Holdco LLC. Resolution 2503, a resolution modifying and reconfirming the adoption of declaratory resolution number 4944-22, designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 3820 West Calvert Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46613, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 5-year personal property tax abatement for Greenleaf Holdco LLC.
All right, thank you. This is a confirming resolution, so there is no committee report. We now go to our presenter, and we ask that the
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, there's reports, both 2502 and 2503 were heard in community investment this afternoon and come forward with favorable recommendations.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, sorry. All right, Mr. Glavich, we're glad to see you.
Thank you,
Please
President.
state your name and your address.
Eric Glavich, Director of Growth and Opportunity. Office is on the 14th floor of this building. Thank you, President Lee and council members. Presenting you two reconfirming resolutions which would reconfirm and modify tax abatements that Pure Green Farms had received through this council in 2022. I will try to go through these fairly quickly since we went through them during committee. If you're not familiar with Pure Green Farms, it's on West Calvert Street near the ethanol plant. Here's an aerial view of the facility. It's a greenhouse that grows lettuce. So if you've had purchased Pure Green Farms lettuce or Earthbound Farms lettuce from the store, chances are it was grown in this facility. The first resolution that you will consider is in regards to the real property tax abatement they had received. So in 2022, Pure Green Farms and the company Greenleaf Holdco LLC had petitioned the Common Council and received a 9-year tax abatement for phase 2 of their greenhouse complex. You can see that the resolutions were passed in January and February of that year. At the time, the DCI had presented resolutions for tax abatement that had designation periods of 3 calendar years from the time that the declaratory resolution was passed. Therefore, the designation period for these abatements would expire at the end of this month. The petitioner, Pure Green Farms, had asked us if we could extend their designation period. They'd had some challenges and phase 2 has not yet begun. We are proceeding with presenting this reconfirming resolution to extend the designation period to the end of 2026. It's a 9-year tax abatement. I ran some new tax numbers based on the current assessed values of the facility as they stand. So under the abatement as it was approved by the Common Council in 2022, over the 9-year abatement, with the project, the taxes would be total about $4.5 million. About 1.8 million of that would be abated under the previously passed abatement, and which means that they would end up paying about $2.7 million in taxes. As we like to do, we like to show what would the tax bill be with and without the project moving forward. So without the project moving forward, the existing facility, the existing property would bring about $3.6 million in tax revenue over the next 20 years. That's without the project. With the project in place and with the abatement in place, you're looking at $8.3 million being brought in. So, this is truly an incentive for this phase of this project to be completed. So we ask that you would support this tax abatement reconfirmation. As I mentioned, basically what this does is extends the designation period. So they would have 2 more years to complete the project as they'd committed. Other commitments that Greenleaf Holdco and Pure Green Farms had committed to from 2022, which carry over and continue with this reconfirmation, is a $12 million private investment commitment, retaining 25 full-time jobs and creating 75 new jobs. Also, through the 2022 commitment, Pure Green Farms had committed to establishing a minimum wage for their employees with a guaranteed increase every year over the life of the abatement. The second resolution involves the personal property that will be purchased for this phase. The estimates at the time in 2022 were about $70 million in personal property would be needed for this project. The same commitments apply. The private investment commitments, the employment commitments, everything would apply to this abatement as well. I ran some new numbers again, just you can look at them on the screen to see what the new abatement numbers would be. But you're looking at, just the personal property bringing in $3.5 million if this project were to move forward over the next 10 years. So I'll pause there. Joe McGuire from Pure Green Farms is here and he and I can answer any questions that you might have.
Hi, Joe McGuire, CEO of Pure Green Farms, 3820 West Calvert Street. If I could just read a text from a South Bend resident that I just got a little while ago from Jen Ballsbush. She said, "When I know I have your lettuce in the fridge, I feel so confident that we can eat well. Thank you." And she's a resident that comes and buys directly from the farm. She buys the food service bag. They eat a lot of salads. But I just want to thank everybody on the council. You guys have been great to work with, and all the people at the farm really appreciate you. And if any questions, feel free to ask me.
Council members, do you have any questions? Vice President Thomas Morgan?
Thank you, President Lee. Thank you so much for your investment on our south side. This is, it was exciting for me and other council members to tour the greenhouse at the time. Between then and now, Pure Green Farm changed the packaging and it's earthbound farm. Could you just say a little bit about that?
Sure. We entered into a sales and marketing agreement with one of our key investors. It's a California-based company. They're actually quite large and they operate in different spheres in fresh produce, and they've got a brand that really helps us compete in the marketplace. And so that's why we transitioned that. Earthbound Farms is nationally recognized. And so we're calling out that it's from the Great Lakes region. We're calling out that it's greenhouse, and we're calling out that it's grown in Indiana.
Right. And it is the case that the Great Lakes label there is Pure Green Farm, right?
Correct.
So when I tell my friends to buy
Yes.
earthbound lettuce, I say, remember
Yep.
the Great Lakes region. label.
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
we're not the organic brand. That's all field grown from Arizona or California.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it
Yes. In your-
Dr. Davis?
Thank you, Chair. In your presentation today, you talked about how some of the other businesses who are similar have up and down industries right now. It's going through more of a roller coaster kind of thing, but you all are moving forward. I mean, yours has been really taking off. What do you think has really made that difference when others around you in your company and well, not in your company, in your competition, they're going like this, but you all are taking off like a rocket? What's really been some of your keys?
Yeah, it's a great question. And a lot of it is because these companies have taken the approach that they're a tech company, or they tried to be defined as a tech company so that they can draw on a lot more money. And they were pretty successful at raising the money. And I'll give you an example. Bowery Farms up in New York City. They're based out of Brooklyn and New Jersey, and they took in close to $700 million and their value went down to zero. And so they weren't able to be successful, and they just started to chase all these different things. What we have done, I'm a 35-year veteran of the fresh produce industry, originally from New York, and I started out in Salinas, California. So I've been around the lettuce for a long time. And we just took more of a fundamental approach to the business, which is you got to really understand the supply chains and you got to really understand the plants that you're growing. And so we've hired people that are very passionate about what we do, but then just are very rooted, no pun intended, in the fresh produce industry as opposed to trying to be a high-tech company, which we do have a lot of good technology and we don't ignore that. We've got some really sharp people working at the farm. But at the end of the day, it's managing very perishable supply chains. And that's what's kind of the neat thing about this. And I was actually at the Indiana Farm Bureau kickoff down in I saw your husband down there, David, and in Indianapolis. And this is a great opportunity for the state because specialty crop is so much different than regular commodity crop, corn, wheat, soy. But you got to really know how to operate in that space because again, it's perishable and it's usually very seasonal. But we're not seasonal because, as you guys know, it's about
Yeah, you can
15
do it all the
degrees
time. Yeah.
right now. And if you were to walk in my greenhouse, it would be, you're walking into almost tropical in the low 70s, perfect humidity, just the right amount of light and CO2 and happy plants.
It's just nice, when you think about Indiana, you think of corn. It's just nice to think about in the future. You think of Indiana, you think of lettuce.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Pretty awesome.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, and if I may,
Yes.
thank you, Chair. I just want to reiterate too, because I think this is important, that you're going to go from 2 million pounds of lettuce with this improvement to making up to probably 8 million pounds of lettuce a year.
Correct.
I mean, that's a lot of lettuce.
Right. It's a lot of lettuce, but when
And
you
it's delicious lettuce, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. But it's still just a fraction of the consumption. We get the data from our sales and marketing company, and it's just still a fraction of the amount that's consumed in this area. So when you walk up to that lettuce set in Martin's or in Walmart and so on, you could just see all the different varieties that are out there. And our goal is to be in all of those spaces. We want to advance in food service. We want to work with the school systems, and we do a lot of tours with the schools, and the kids love it and the teachers love it. And so it's fun.
And I would just like to say thank you for the investment so far that you have made. It's been such a huge impact, and I appreciate the investment.
Thank you.
Eric, for the record, can you tell us how big the investment has been at so far?
Well,
I can tell you.
I can't speak to the investment into phase one. I'll let Joe talk to that, but I do, just to reiterate, their commitment under this tax abatement is $70 million in personal property and $12 million in real property. And I'm guessing that things have changed in the last 3 years since the abatement was approved. But if you want to talk about kind of the investment that you guys have made, I think that would be helpful for council.
Yeah, so far we've got, I would call it around 20 to 25 million invested in the project right now. And it'll probably be close to 50. Some of the equipment we're buying from Europe, and as the dollar gets stronger, that's coming down, which is great. So in that range, I would say. And it's going to be about 8 acres of greenhouse. And we're doing something unique. I'm probably giving you more information than you want, but we're doing a propagation area. And so we're following this, and this is what we've learned over the last 4 years is you got to give the plants different conditions as they grow. And so with this propagation area, we're expecting to have even better performance with yield and quality. So it'll go from germination, propagation to adult stage. And then once it gets in adult stage, it gets natural light and the plants really fly. They grow quickly.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yes, I have a question. Not to say it's your business, but if I was to come into your place and talk to some of your employees, what would they say? Are they happy? Do they enjoy working for you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I would say yes. And we just went through an audit, a social audit from Walmart, and we could show you the results of that. We scored higher than the company that does our sales and marketing. They were pretty impressed by that. So I would answer definitely in the affirmative. It doesn't mean that we don't have issues with people. For sure we do. I mean, it's natural, but we've got a great staff down there. We're very passionate about what we do, and we're passionate about the environment around us. I've got people down there that are very into native plants. And so they're creating this whole native plant area around the greenhouse, which is pretty nice, and beautiful plants come up in the spring and they're native to the area. But yes, I would definitely welcome you down there to meet the employees. And I feel very confident that it would be in the affirmative that they like it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If that being all, I will now entertain a motion regarding resolution 25-02.
Move for passage.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second.
Yeah, public hearing.
I'm sorry.
We just been talking.
All right. I'm sorry. We will now go to public hearing. It wasn't on my sheet. This is my first one, everybody. All right. We'll now go to the public. Clerk Torado, is there anyone looking to speak in favor of resolution 2502 and resolution 2503?
I do not see anyone in the chambers or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
All right. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Please state your name and address for the record.
Dr. Robert Bennett, 1845 O'Brien Street in the far northwest. From the vote on 2501, it is clear that the Common Council does not care about the public and the coffers of the public and who pays for the services that sustain our community, because you are willing to give these corporations a cut of the public good. And you increase my taxes, you increase my neighbor's taxes, and you increase your own taxes every time that you vote yes to these corporations. When Greenleaf Holding LLC Co. and their ilk receive a tax abatement, my taxes go up. The money that kids have in school goes down. What hospitals have, what EMT has, what firefighters have, what your cops have, goes down. From your previous vote, you don't care. You don't care about my community, you don't care about me, you don't care about my neighbors. So if 2501 is an indication of what 2502 is going to be, then what I say falls on your deaf ears, not to be ableist. But I hope that there are people who care enough to hold you to account that you increase our taxes every single time that you allow these people who are paying minimum wage to grow food. $7.25 is the minimum wage in Indiana. Survive on it. What's your pay, Common Council? How much do you get to sit in these leather chairs? You don't get less than $7.25.
We do.
Oh, do you? Oh, do you? Are you truly public servants? Your service is free?
Yes, we
We do.
Your service is free? Then fantastic. I certainly did not mean to impinge your honor that the Common Council sits as it raises my taxes for free. Because it certainly looks like a bribe from here. Whether you are paid by the city or not, when you raise my taxes and you raise your own taxes in the interest of a corporation that is paying $7.25, I don't care that you make nothing. And obviously, that's the salary that you deserve.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion.
I want to know how much are you paying?
Oh,
How
yeah,
much does
can
your
we-
employees
can we
make,
have
if I may
rebuttal?
ask? How much does your employees make an hour?
Yeah, help us out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Typical starting salary is about $15 an hour, but I think we have a total payroll of $2.5 million. We have created a lot of opportunities for people, careers, and we're going to continue to do that. And this is a new industry that's being built. And so just basic economics tells you that we're producing something here. And that production goes and employees make money, and then they pay taxes and they contribute into the economy. And so I feel very good about the products that we make. And I feel very much better about the opportunities that we create for people. And then lastly, the economics that we bring to the city of South Bend, I think is extremely favorable.
Where do your
So-
employees come from?
Local. We've got mostly local. There are some people that came from out of town. I came from out of town,
I understand.
but I moved here. I've got 5 kids and we caravanned up here and we live locally. And, but yeah, we get a lot of local people and, you know, we're always, you know, we do get a fair amount of turnover, but we just, you know, keep trying to make it better and better. A lot of training and trying to get people to buy into the vision of, hey, you can have a career in this. I mean, I've been in, like I said, I've been in the fresh produce business for 35 years and it's an absolutely wonderful industry. And it's just, it's been the joy of my life to work in this business, selling healthy food.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. The public hearing portion is now closed. Council members, would you like to make any statements?
I do.
I do.
Yeah, Mr. McGuire, I said this to you, I think in 2021, when you were at RDC in 2022, I want you to make West Calvert Street on the west side of South Bend the lettuce valley of the Midwest, and make South Bend known for growing lettuce, 8 million pounds. I think is a long way to getting us there. I've been out there. Your facility is very exciting. We talked to some of the employees. They were all very happy and you know, they talked our ear off about lettuce and the greenhouse and how the mechanical and the operations all work. It's a very exciting project, and just tax abatements. You know, it phases in your taxes. It doesn't raise any residents' taxes. That notion is incorrect. So I'm very much in support of it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, President Lee. I'm very excited about this, having more fresh produce in the community. And I'm always thinking about our children who need to be exposed to that. And some of our children live in fresh produce deserts. And if you can get more of this into the school, I've seen students when they are exposed to eating fresh fruit, how their palate was expanded. So thank you. Thank you for your contribution to our community and especially our young people.
If I could add, council member, Pure Green Farms participated in the Linden Avenue Farmers Market events that the economic and engagement and economic empowerment team had hosted this past year. So we do appreciate Pure Green Farms assistance with that.
Dr. Davis.
As a vegetarian who eats a lot of lettuce, I truly appreciate what you're doing. And I need to eat more and more of it and work on my health this year, and part of my resolutions that I'm really working on. And I live in the 6th district near you, even though now I'm at large. And so I would look forward to, you're right down the street. I could walk over there to where you are, from where you live. So I mean, where your operation. So I am very glad to see that whole area just coming alive there. And I'm grateful for what you have done. And I'm glad to also see that you are helping. Your salary that you talked about helps local people with their salaries. And that is very important, to have jobs that start at $15 plus in the city of South Bend, and dealing with groceries, dealing with that part. We've heard so much negativity about groceries over the last year and the prices and stuff. So, and to see that our local Walmarts and other Krogers, you expanding all over the state of Indiana, I think is really great. So that is great for me. Thank you. Bless you.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Thank you, President Lee. Mr. McGuire, I just want to thank you, as others have, for your investment in our city. This really has been exciting to see this occur in South Bend. I shared with you then in 2022 when we were hearing and passing the original resolution, but at the time, my son was a teenager and I brought home a bag of lettuce after touring your facility, and he hated lettuce until he tasted yours. And Pure Green Farms is the only lettuce and salad that he'll eat to this day. And so you've transformed our family, and continue to trust that will continue to transform the eating habits of many young people and families around our city. And I also just wanted to add that I, and I'm sure others on council too, would be happy to speak with anybody who would like to discuss tax abatements and how they work. Thank you.
Councilwoman White?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you, Joe.
Again, thank you again for your presentation and the work that you're doing in our city to make South Bend great and to be a place that makes things again. And I'm really excited about all of these things that are going on in our city to make South Bend a better city, to lift us all up. And so thank you very much. At this time, I will now entertain a motion regarding Resolution 25-02.
I move
For
for
adoption.
second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Let us say aye.
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Give me that one. Come
Aye.
on now.
Councilmember White, Councilmember Nisgowsky, Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner, Vice President Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
9 ayes.
All right. Resolution 2502 has been adopted.
Aye.
Now I will ask for a motion regarding Resolution 2503.
Move for passage.
Second.
There's been a motion in the packet, and I'm thinking about lettuce now. There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
I'll keep it simple. Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Resolution 2503 has been adopted.
Good night.
All right.
Mayonnaise and lettuce. That's
Bills
it.
on first reading.
Oh, my God.
Clerk Toronto. Will you please give Bill 0125 a first reading?
First reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 1408 Elwood Avenue, Councilmanic District Number 2 in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
I will now entertain a motion to send Bill 01-25 to South Bend Plan Commission on January 21st, 25th, and then zoning and annexation and council public hearing on January 27th.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Clerk Toronto, would you please give Bill 02-25 a first reading?
First reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 616 Sherman Avenue, Councilmanic District Number 1 in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
I will now entertain a motion to send Bill 02-25 to the South Bend Plan Commission for January 21st and ZNA Committee and public hearing and third reading on January 27th.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Clerk Toronto, would you please give Bill 03-25 a first reading?
First reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance and seeking a use variance for property located at 4022 Old Cleveland Road, Councilmanic District Number 1 in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
All right, I will now entertain a motion to send Bill 0325 to the South Bend Plan Commission for January 21st and Zoning and Annexation Committee and Council public hearing and third reading for January 27th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Clerk Toronto, would you please give Bill 04-25 a first reading?
First reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, adopting an investment policy for the City of South Bend for calendar year 2025 through 2028.
I will now entertain a motion to send Bill 04-25 to Personnel and Finance Committee and public hearing and third reading for January 27th.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Is there any unfinished business at this time?
Just one follow-up in terms of, the bill that you just did for first reading regarding the housing coming up. For those of you who have, any concerns and issues that you would like for me to raise at the Plan Commission, you can just go ahead and email them to me because I know that's going to be a very enlightening discussion. And so feel free to email me, text me, or call me so I can try to ask as many of the questions ahead of time so we can be ready for the 27th.
Right.
And the train issue is still blowing at night and late at night, waking up the neighbors. So I don't know what to do about the train issue over there, except go out there and wave a flag because it's frustrating.
Okay, we'll continue. Council Vice President Thomas Morgan says she'll follow up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, is there any new business?
Yes.
All right. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to let the public and council members know that a group of citizens, just citizens, are very concerned about the impact of the state mandate for failing third graders who don't pass the state test. And the Kids First agenda, which some of us, we attended that rally, they are still in force. And as a member of the Community Relations Committee, we are here to help and to collaborate for our children, our third graders, and to get their reading up. We make Indiana is involved, the Kids First agenda, and we have to pull together. These children are our children, not somebody else's children. They're our children.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, President Lee. I just want to say that on this Saturday at Lang Lab in the 3rd District from noon to 8 p.m., there's an artist rise up. So we're asking for the community to come out. It's a $5 cover charge, and it will be a lot of art, music, performance, poetry, spoken words, and a lot of food and drinks and a good time at the Lang Lab this Saturday from noon to 8.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Dr. Oliver Davis.
Just letting you know that also regarding the education issues that I will be working with others. If you want to join me in doing a resolution, I think we need to weigh in with our thoughts pertaining to the bill that is being sponsored by Representative Jake Teska. That is trying to push more and more of our schools into charter schools. And I think that we need to raise our voice here. Indy Star had done a lot of work on that. And so I think we have to really, as a city, I know that we don't necessarily have any jurisdiction, but we do have a voice to raise our voice to our state councils and join in to really do that, because that's something that we don't need here in the city of South Bend. More and more of some areas, Indianapolis is under the threat, Gary's been wiped out, and we won't be far behind if we are not careful. So we got to be ready for that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I would also like to just commend Eric Glavich and his team. We were able to go to the ribbon cutting for Property Brothers LLC, Property Bros LLC, and their new duplex on Sherman Street, and they use the city plans, and it's a really nice facility, a really nice duplex, uh, bottom apartment and top apartments, and they're building 4 more right now. And it was exciting to see that area of Sherman Street off of Lincoln Way getting some much needed love and development over in that area. So again, I just want to say it was great to be a part of that and to see a minority contractor being able to produce a good quality product. It was something to see. All right. We are now getting ready to go to the privilege of the floor. And again, respectfully, everybody, we respect everyone's voice and everyone's thoughts, but we do want you to know that disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated. And such speech or actions, as well as verbal attacks on any person, may result in the individuals without notice forfeiting the remainder of his or her allotted time. Individuals who wish to address the council must state their name and residential address. Individuals will be limited to 3 minutes only. The maximum time limit for this portion for the meeting is 30 minutes. Individuals shall not be permitted to address topics which the council has heard previously on the agenda. The council president may assign a topic raised by an individual during the privilege of the floor to the appropriate council member, or request the city clerk to contact a member of the city administration for review, and topics assigned shall be responded to at the next scheduled council meeting. At this time, please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Sue Kessel, 4022 Kennedy Drive. Good evening, members of the City Council. I stand before you today to share an important perspective, one that I hope resonates with all of us as stewards of our community. Wendy Jade said, "An environment that is not safe to disagree in is not an environmental focused on growth. It's an environment focused on control." Disagreement is not inherently negative. In fact, it is often the sign of a healthy and engaged community. When citizens voice concerns or express differing views, it reveals unmet needs, unaddressed challenges, or opportunities for improvement. These moments are not interruptions to governance. They are the heart of it. Each of you took an oath to serve not just the people who voted for you, donated to your campaigns, or championed your causes, but everyone in our community. That responsibility transcends personal preferences or political affiliations. It requires listening with intent, responding with care, and working towards solutions that benefit the greater good. When emails go unanswered, when phone calls are ignored, or when citizens feel dismissed, it erodes trust and fuels frustration. Good governance demands more than policy decisions. It demands respect, transparency, and thoughtful engagement with those you represent. I urge you to create an environment where disagreement is met with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Let it be a catalyst for progress, a signal to dig deeper, and an opportunity to ensure no voice goes unheard. You are not here to control the narrative, but to embrace the complex and diverse needs of this community. I challenge each of you to reflect on how you engage with those who bring different perspectives, and to strive to leave no one feeling overlooked, or silenced. Together, we can create a culture of growth, one that empowers every resident to believe in the promise of their voice and the power of their local government. To date, none of you have gotten back to me about my concern about cars driving on John Marshall School sidewalks, endangering children. I asked that the city change the striping of the street and post signs and work on the curbing. None of you saw fit to answer my concern about the children in my 5th district. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record and address.
Linda Bryant, Maple Lane, South Bend, Indiana. When each one of you were running for this public service job in South Bend, promises were made by all of you. When accepting this position, you all swore an oath of office. Did every one of you sitting up there swear this oath of office? I would hope that by taking the oath, each one of you would make a conscious choice to be sure that your reputation was beyond reproach and you would set an example for honesty and integrity, fulfilling your duties as council members. Sharon McBride has admitted under oath that she's not been living in District 3. How can she continue to have a vote and draw a salary claiming to represent a district she does not live in? I am asking, no, I am insisting all of you honor the oath you swore to the citizens of South Bend. Sharon McBride must be removed from this council. As I said before, you all could do better, but you're not.
Ma'am, this constitutes a personal attack. It's not within the jurisdiction of the city or the common council to remove a council member.
May I continue though?
As long as you can stop the personal attacks and addressing the issues not before the city.
I will not mention her name. Okay. Okay. As I said before, you all could do better, but you're not. The ones who do the wrong and the ones that condone the wrongdoing are one and the same to me. I once read somewhere where it says, in government, you can choose to do good or you can choose to do well. Let me repeat that. In government, you can choose to do good or you can choose to do well. Which did you choose?
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Dr. Robert Bennett, 1845 O'Brien Street in the far northwest neighborhood. I never had a home of my own. Ironic for a Native American. Says Irene, and that she is Native American, and that she was told that her heritage was robbed because her heritage was robbed by genocide, cultural and physical in the United States, and that now she has the role of playing scapegoat to capitalists and to people who come and seek tax abatements from you and increase my relative tax burden, is how that works. Because the bills don't go down, but the pay does. She says it's sad to see how we Native Americans have been treated. She says, I think people have a wrong idea about us. We're not all drunkards, you know. And I followed my family tree, and my ancestors fought for American side in Vietnam and Korea. And there's a lot of us who are artists, and it just runs in our blood. And Russell Means was a very devoted activist. So yeah, we've contributed to society. And she's been homeless for 10 years now. She lives in the Tenderloin for 30 years. She wants to go back there. And I feel that I have the right, or that she has the right, to a studio apartment, to a place to live, to a home. She deserves a house so that she has a home. And so do all of us. She sleeps at Bethel Church. If only the public Christians would open their door to the homeless, to the hungry, to the needy. But they've got their gilded tower. So, you know, it is what it is. Says she's religious though. Can't see why. And that's a big part of her life. She loves singing during mass. You failed 2 years ago to pass a homelessness bill of rights. You tabled it because you don't care about people who are homeless, because you don't realize how close you are to being homeless. Make one mistake. You don't get paid to be on the Common Council, but whatever you do in your work life, when you lose that job because you decide you don't want to just rank and file your life, which you probably won't do, given how you voted on the tax abatements, I believe you are rank and file capitalist. So I think your jobs are probably secure until you anger the wrong
30
person.
seconds, sir.
Oh, sweet. You have failed. So what I would like to do is I'd like to enter into the record Cori Bush's unhoused person Bill of Rights as an example of what you could do for South Bend. You have also violated the Constitution tonight by invocating under the name of Jesus Christ. All right? Not everyone in South Bend is Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist, Taoist,
Time, sir.
Confucianist.
Thank you, sir.
Time, sir.
You have violated the
Sir,
Constitution.
your time is up.
Please state your name for the record.
Logan Foster, 1138 College Street. First, a comment to the parliamentarian. Indiana Code 36466 gives the power to the Common Council to expel any member of the legislative body. So your interjection of the lady before us was incorrect. The Municipal Code of the City of South Bend, Chapter 2, Article 1, is clear and unequivocal. It states, for all persons to be eligible to run for the office of the district council member shall have resided in such district for the last 6 months preceding the general election. Should any council member representing any district cease to be a resident of such district during his or her term of office, such office shall thereby become immediately vacant. This code exists for a reason. It ensures that every council member genuinely represents the constituents of their district, sharing their experiences, their struggles, and their interests. This principle is fundamental to preserving the trust and function of local government. On November 10th, 2023, Council Member Sharon McBride gave sworn testimony in a legal deposition where she admitted to having lived exclusively with her mother since September of 2020, a period of over 3 years. This timeline includes the months preceding her election. To ensure the facts are transparent, I will read a portion of her statement under oath. And you said you're still living with your mother at this time. Correct. Between September of 2020 and now, have you stayed anywhere else? No. These statements, given under oath, leave no room for ambiguity. Councilmember McBride has openly admitted to residing in a district where she was not elected to represent, in clear contradiction to our municipal code. The implications are twofold. McBride either answered truthfully, acknowledging a breach of the residency requirement, or McBride perjured herself in a court of law. Neither scenario upholds the standards of accountability and transparency the public expects from its elected officials. If Councilmember McBride answered honestly under oath, then she is obligated to vacate her seat immediately, as stipulated by the municipal code. She has knowingly
30
failed.
seconds, sir.
She has knowingly failed to meet the residency requirements for the office, and by her own admission, McBride cannot lawfully continue to serve in this position. To our parliamentarian, you continue to shut down speech when you are incorrect with the code. Indiana Code 36466 gives the power to the legislative body to expel any member, and you keep misguiding the public when you make $9,000 a month. We deserve better.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sarah Foster, 1138 College Street. If, however, Councilmember McBride refuses to step down, I urge the other 8 council members to act decisively. Under Indiana Code 36-4-6-6. This legislative body has the authority to expel a council member for misconduct. This power exists precisely for moments like these to safeguard the integrity of our council and uphold the laws you are sworn to follow. What purpose do our laws serve if lawmakers themselves defy them? How can we expect citizens to trust this government if we remain silent in the face of wrongdoing? Failure to act is not neutrality, it is complicity. To stay silent is to send a message to the public that these laws are optional for those who hold positions of power. To stay silent is to erode the trust that binds us as a community and to cast doubt on the very foundation of our democracy. I call on this council to fulfill its duty to the people of South Bend. Take action and hold Councilmember McBride accountable for her words and deeds. To do anything less is to abrogate your responsibility to your constituents and to the rule of law itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure, I'm Dr. Brian Collier, and I hesitate to give my address because I see an uptick in red tags for people that have given their address and speak out against certain things. But I do live at 1236 Longfellow Avenue in South Bend, and so I'll say that, but with a little fear and trepidation in my voice. I want to thank Councilman Davis for talking about transparency earlier, and really truly appreciate that. And I want to thank the President, Councilman Lee, for speaking with the officers. And I apologize to my fellow citizens that that was necessary. But in 5th grade at Jefferson, Miss Moeller, she said that we have a right to refuse unreasonable searches and seizures under the 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And nowhere on the website did it say that to speak to you all, that I would have to undergo a search or of any kind. And so I was refusing that. And I hope that we'll either add that to the webpage that people might be trespassed if they refuse a search. I've been told numerous things over the years. I wrote all of you that were on the council about this issue about 2 years ago. So those of you that were on the council at that time, but I didn't hear from anyone except Mr. Davis, who invited me to breakfast near Olive Street and told me to settle down. And I appreciated that too, sir. So thank you. As a member of the 3rd District, I was deeply offended that the Democratic Party said they're all good with me being taxed without representation of a council member that lives in my district. When Randy Kelly ceded his seat and the current representative, so maybe representing my district, took that seat, he did so because he moved out of the district. And that's what the council said was right and just at the time under the Indiana Code and the Indiana law. You all do have the power, as the previous speakers have stated, to remove a council member that is not residing in district. And I hope you'll do that because it would save the city so much money, because the other method to do this is for the people to have to sue from the district. And then we've got to involve the city's lawyers and whatnot. And I know you all serve for 21,000 and change, so they do make a little money, but nothing to shout at. That's not very much. So I appreciate your service, all of you. Truly, I appreciate your dedication to the schools, and in particular, I've been an educator all of my life and fell in love with education in the 5th grade at Jefferson here, and have been an educator ever since. And so I think process matters. I think because we know that Mr. Kelly gave up his seat when he moved out of my district, I think we can expect you all to enforce the same going forward, and not just trust those that say they've gone to law school, that have even been to law school.
30 seconds.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. But just look at the statutes that these two have stated, that our other friends have stated. And it's not a personal thing. It's just taxation without representation, which is just so fundamental in the United States. So I appreciate you all and your service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other business, we stand adjourned.